We knew he was going to give us one all game. Like, everybody want to bet on, they thought they had us on a little 7 route, Olave, okay, cool. But ain't nothing go over our head all day. Oh, cool, it's cool. It's cool. We got the best secondary, best D-line, best front seven in the league right now. And I'm popping it. Because at the end of the day, they say we was down and out. They thought about last week. Now look at you now.
That's the top offense in the league coming today.
Man, we're in top what? Top what? Top what? Top what? Top what? Ain't nothing to get over that top from shout out to Slade, shout out to Q, shout out to Vontae, shout out to Reed, shout out to Ringo, shout out to Coach CP, shout out to Coach JK. Hey man, best secondary in the league, that's the case.
What'd you have to play through today?
We ain't play through nothing, play through my teammates. I'm not worried about somebody. Listen, we keep receipts. That's what I told y'all in the locker room. See y'all Sunday.
Of course, it's Matt Rogers on the Honorable Mention podcast. It's great to be back with you. On this episode, we have Jeff Warren from the Philadelphia Sports Table podcast. Go give that a listen, and you'll hear some of the very best in the business. They talk about not only just the Phillies, Sixers, Eagles. They go to Flyers. They talk about a variety of different things, and they've been doing it longer than anybody else who does this exact kind of thing. And you also hear some pretty uncut conversations with me, like last week where Jeff and I were ripping the Eagles. How are you doing today, Jeff?
And rightfully so. We should have been ripping them after that game against the Falcons, but I'm doing well. Thanks for the kind words. Appreciate the promos. And I am so happy this team won. I mean, a win is a win, Matt. That's all we want from this team. There was some ugly stuff. There was some really good stuff in this game too. So I'm looking forward to diving into it with you.
Absolutely. This is actually my first show of this regular season. I've been battling through a cold, so this is my first opportunity to, during the preseason and all that stuff, we did some coverage, but
yeah,
this is the first time we're diving in during the regular season. It's a really good place to start as they jumped to 2-0. They defeated the New Orleans Saints 15-12. I don't think anybody in the world, I was going to say, if you listen to PST, of course, you would have never thought that they could hold the Saints to 12 points. I don't think nobody. I don't think Fangio thought that they were going to hold the Saints to.
I think so. I think the players in this game on offense and defense, frankly, played the way they did today, despite maybe perhaps some of the coaching, although I do got to give some props to Vic Fangio for sure. I mean, this defense came to play. I think they were just hearing all of the noise this past week, and rightfully so, about how the defense performed week 1 and week 2 especially. They came to play, and they were fantastic to watch today. I mean, I just got doing our post-game podcast, and quite frankly, we gave my guest who was on with me, we gave A's like around the entire defense, and Vic Fangio gave him a straight up A. So I love where the defense is going. I think it's growing, and let's hope it continues into next week against the Buccaneers.
So they outgained. So these numbers are ridiculous. They outgained the Saints 460 to 219, and they won the game in a nail biter.
Yes. Why did that happen? I would say offensive coaching, quite frankly. Nick Sirianni deserves a lot of scrutiny after this game, after last game. He continues to make decisions that are baffling. If you're going into halftime and you do have opportunity to put points on the board, knowing that you get the ball, that you're getting ball back. Yeah, you're getting the ball back right after the half. You put the points on the board. The gambling, the decision making that he makes, I am so completely perplexed by it. And he deserves a lot of scrutiny. Yeah, they won this game, but they didn't win because of Nick Sirianni's coaching by any stretch of the imagination.
We will certainly get back to Mr. Sirianni, but let's go to the players. Who will get the game? Who would get your game ball if you were Coach Warren in there tonight?
This is so tough. Because there are 2 players on this team that created an explosive play when the team needed it. They provided the spark, and there was one player in particular that provided consistency through 3 quarters. And I will say provided consistency through 3 quarters, because for an entire quarter, he didn't touch the ball. And that is one Saquon Barkley, which I'm sure we're going to get to. But honestly, I would give it to Saquon Barkley. 2 touchdowns on the day. In terms of what he did on the ground, 147 yards on 17 carries, 8.6 yards per carry. He gets my game ball. And with that 65-yard a touchdown, taking it to the house, it gave this team what it needed in order to come out on top. Yes, by 3 points. Oh, again, a win is a win, but Saquon Barkley gets my game ball.
I totally agree with you. I think, sports so much, obviously these things aren't run on paper, which is why you play the games. And so much of what's going on is a momentum shift. He came out after Devontae Smith gets laid out on what I think was just a flat out cheap shot. And then he comes right out of it and rips off that, angry run. Just angry, untouched to the house. It was incredible.
It's great to see a running back really quick, Matt. It's great to have a running back on this team. As much as I did like DeAndre Swift, but it's great to have a running back who is patient, waits for the lanes to open, waits for those gaps to open up, and can be explosive. And he, time and time again, through 3 weeks, Saquon Barkley has shown us why it's important to have an elite running back on your team. And I'm going to be honest and say, you know what? I wasn't 100% sure about it. Wasn't 100% sure about the signing. I am so happy right now, because that elite running back that this team has is what is needed, and especially in a game like this, to help give this team some momentum in week 3.
And this is why, the idea that you could just load up on wide receivers and just have, middle of the mall running back is exactly why in this game, when you make this kind of investment, you still have a chance. Even after you lose your top 2 guys, you still have a chance, because you've got a guy who could still make those plays. And so who's your runner up? Honorable mention game ball. You had a second game ball.
Yeah, it's got to be Dallas Goedert, and especially after you and I on the Philadelphia Sports Table podcast show last week annihilated him, and rightfully so. And I say rightfully so.
Yep.
I wonder how much he was in the game plan to begin with. Again, coming down to Nick Sirianni and his coaching and what Kellen Moore has been trying to do with his offense to get these players more comfortable with his system. But Goedert, after having only 4 targets in week 2, he absolutely killed it today with 10 receptions on 11 targets, 170 yards. He averaged 17 yards per reception, and that long 61-yarder that I talked about was really what the team needed at that time. Jalen Hurts was able to see what the defense, the Saints defense, was giving him, got the ball to Goedert, and he made a fantastic play when it was absolutely needed in order for Saquon Barkley to score that touchdown at the end of the game. So my runner-up is Dallas Goedert for sure. A redemption game from him. And I'm glad. I hope we continue to see it. I hope they're going to continue to utilize him in this fashion, because we did see his talent, Matt.
We're on the same page. And I will say, I want to give a shout out. Now, you don't get a game ball. You get to cheer with everybody, and everybody gets to clap for you. But the guy I want to give a shout out to that on that key play, that when Dallas rips that crossing route open for 60 yards.
Yeah.
That is a play that the Eagles have been trying to run for the entire Sirianni tenure.
Yes.
But Jahan Dotson finally showed this team how to run that pick route. You don't touch anybody. You let everybody else run into each other, and you let slow Dallas Goedert rip it off for 60 because 3 guys just ran into each other.
Yes.
That was beautiful.
It was
Thank
beautiful.
you, Jahan.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It was great to watch. He provides value to this team. Look, Jahan Dotson, I wanted him to be more involved. I wanted Kellen Moore to keep him or have him more involved in this game, especially over the middle on those intermediate routes, specifically with the mesh concepts as well.
Absolutely.
He only had 3 targets in this game. He caught 2 balls for 8 yards, but that block and what he's able to give the team outside of actually catching the ball is something to be, it's noteworthy, I should say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So far this season, Saquon has rushed for 109 yards, 95 yards, and 147 yards. And each week his carries have gone down. Barkley didn't get a single carry into the second quarter. Let's just go there, Jeff. What the hell?
I think, again, we talked about it on our post-game show as well. It is egregious. It's egregious. You look at the very first drive of the game, and somehow I'm sitting there on my couch and I'm watching the game, taking some notes here, and he didn't touch the ball on the first series, a series that saw this team at -9 yards. That's the first drive of the game, and then 0 yards, as you mentioned, in the first quarter. You don't give Kenny Gainwell the opportunities to start off the game right off the bat. You don't give Kenny Gainwell those opportunities. You have this talent in Saquon Barkley. You just mentioned all the yardage that he has put up this season, and
that's just on the ground.
That's just on the ground. Exactly. Yes. Yes. That's just on the ground. But again, it goes back to Nick Sirianni's coaching or lack thereof coaching. If I am Nick Sirianni, I don't know what he's doing in the building throughout the course of the week. I'd be saying to Kellen Moore, our top running back needs to see the ball on the very first series, and he needs to see the ball throughout the game consistently. I want him to see the ball or have the ball on the final series of the game. I want Saquon Barkley out there because he's a weapon. He's being paid for it as well. It's very egregious from Nick Sirianni. Yeah.
And I mean, we have to, they talk about how the offense runs through AJ, Devontae, Dallas Goedert. I respect that. I get that. But your best players are AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. So recognize that, and I like Smitty. Smitty's a good player.
Absolutely.
And he's, again, a cheap shot. But there's some distance from AJ, Saquon to Devontae. And so when you're acting as though Saquon and Dallas Goedert are in the same realm. Now they were the superstars today and they both should get, like we said, the game balls, but Saquon should be getting at least Saquon. If we get the ball to Saquon less than 25 times, we are trying to lose. Period.
Oh, I agree.
Forget the load management. We can do that and later when we start packing it up and leading this division. That's how you load manage things. Later in the season, you mix in throughout the game. Maybe later in the season, we take Saquon down to 20 touches a game. But, he has a whole quarter of the game where he's not touching the ball. Yeah. It's it's egregious. Egregious is a great word.
It is egregious. Look, last week he did. I think he may have had 25 carries last week. I know the first game of the season, it was in the mid to high 20s, I believe. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, what's going on here? This is it's nice to see this in terms of a bell cow running back. However, like you're saying, we need to make sure that he's healthy throughout the season. It was good to see the 17 carries today. And of course, that 65-yarder helped to bring up that 8.6 average per carry. But yeah, you have a weapon like this. You use him. You utilize him every single quarter.
Earlier today, I was listening to a little radio station, and I told you about it, Jeff, because I was less than pleased.
And they are a little radio station, damn it.
Yeah, they are a little radio station. Ooh. And what was being said there before it was turned off, I don't know what was said after this because I was done. And I might really be done because the again, egregious. It was the opinion that was shared was so beyond ridiculous. It just cartoonish. The discussion got to maybe if we lose this game today, let's say we lose the game today, the discussion, they were saying that it was going to be a real potential discussion that Derek Carr was better than Jalen Hurts.
Oh, gosh. It's enraging to think that Jalen Hurts is one of the top quarterbacks in this league. I was actually mentioning on our PST post-game show, somebody was communicating with us over Twitter and just killing Hurts today, calling him a nightmare in the red zone and just saying how he's just a dude out there. No, I'm sorry.
Dude, a nightmare in the red zone. What's he have, like 30 rushing touchdowns?
I know.
Calendar year. I
know. I'm going to say this, okay? He's up to 27 giveaways in his last 21 games.
Yes.
I don't care for that. That's not good. Yes. I'm not saying that is acceptable by any stretch.
It's not.
However, and yes, he didn't have any touchdowns today, rushing or passing. However, he kept this team in the game. And in fact, he kept this team going on third down as well. The Eagles were 6 of 14 on third down. And in a lot of those six conversions, third down conversions, a lot of those were because of Jalen Hurts and because of him finding receivers when he at times didn't have some really good receivers out there, and a right side of the offensive line who was injured. Mekhi Becton, starting right guard, out with a hand injury. Lane Johnson, concussion, out. He had a makeshift offense today, and there were a lot of just procedural type of penalties that the offense was getting, that they were just doing throughout the game. And he overcame a lot of challenges today. I think Jalen Hurts had a fine game, but again, if Nick Sirianni is coaching him better, I think he has a much better game.
I think, if we could wipe away that fumble, the fumble, the rolling left, that fumble that looked like it kind of dribbled off his knee, even like the guy barely even touched it.
He didn't know the defender was there.
Away,
yeah.
If we could take that away, I could feel comfortable with the B+ grade, but I still got to give him a B for today. I mean, there's only so many quarterbacks in this league with the offense that was out there today. Because you got to, even Cam Jurgens. So your whole right side is from center. This is your third game with this guy, Cam Jurgens.
Yep.
You got Becton out, and you got your Hall of Fame right tackle. You don't have your All-Pro wide receiver. You don't have so Jahan Dotson and Johnny Wilson and Paris Campbell, who was doing his circus act catch. He caught him, but it was really scary today. But they made it happen.
They did. And you have to give Jalen Hurts credit for it. It was a makeshift offense. I don't know how
McNabbish what he pulled off today.
It was. That's a really good phrase, Matt. It was very McNabbish. That's a very good comp right there. How many of those McNabb games did we see that were just like this? But he got it done at the end of the day. He got it done. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize him for look. The interception, I do believe the majority of that was on Smitty. I do.
Yep.
The fumble, these things do happen, but he does when he's rolling. He's got to understand where the pressure is coming from.
And
it was a mistake.
He's got to tuck it.
Yes, very much. You can't be holding it out there like a loaf of bread. And
it was bad.
It was. However, there was recovery afterward. And that's important, folks. It's important to understand that he wasn't a disaster like the one tweet that I got from somebody said. It was just
a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look on the other side of the box score. That was disaster.
Yes.
Because this Eagles defense had been getting torched, going back some time. I mean, the Packers damn near scored 30, and then the Falcons, they were running and everything all over them. So coming into this game, this Eagles defense was not that great.
Yeah.
And look what Carr put out there today.
Absolutely.
He gave us a whole, 15 points? 12 points. He gave us 12 points today.
Derek Carr has been slicing and dicing the first 2 weeks. And today, he went 14 to 25 for 142 yards, 5.7 yards per attempt. And yes, he did have a touchdown, but he had that interception to seal the game. Very important. Reed Blankenship coming up with the interception. He's got 2 within the past 3 games. Derek Carr ended with an overall rating today of 69.1. And meanwhile, Jalen Hurts ends the day with an overall rating of 88.8. All right, folks, you tell me who was the better quarterback in this game. Tell me who was a better quarterback. There you go.
And this was a bad Jalen Hurts game. Overall, this was not a great game for me. This is Jalen Hurts,
I gave him a B too. Just like you did.
Okay, so a B. Yeah, so a B.
Yeah.
This is a B game from Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely. But he did at certain times of the game what he needed to do to put the offense in a position to do something positive, given how the coaching staff was handling things. And there's something to be said for that as a player in this league.
So let's move to some unit grades. So let's go to the defense.
Yes.
What do you give the defense?
I give the defense overall what I gave them on my podcast, an A. They get a straight up A from me. I cannot believe what I saw from a
Me either.
pass rush standpoint, a run defense standpoint, for God's sake. When you are able to hold Alvin Kamara, who's been doing a really good job of rushing this year, to 3.3 yards per carry, you're doing a damn good job. So I am giving Vic, in the secondary, I thought did a fine job. Nakobe Dean had a fantastic game. Zach Bond had a great game as the two main linebackers on the field. I'm giving him an A. And Vic Fangio, I think he's going to have this defense pumped up moving into Tampa Bay next week.
I and usually I try to be more even keeled about that. I can't give a good reason why not A+, because this team walked into here today scoring 40 points on everybody, moving the ball up and down the field at will. Eagles reeling, being questioning themselves, can't get a pass rush, can't stop people. And then even you lose Slay, and then the ball's in the other offense's hand to end the game, and you end the game with a pick. I gotta stand, standing applause for this one. I mean, what a game plan from Fangio, and great job from the players executing it.
Yep,
just excellent play today. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you.
I'll go first on offense.
Go ahead.
Overall offense, I've got to give them a C- today. Way too many sloppy penalties at extremely inopportune times. Again, the interception to that in the red zone, that it will be credited to Jalen Hurts, but if Devontae Smith runs that route with conviction, either he might have batted it down, it might be a touchdown. Right. So
it was a very subpar route. And we usually don't see that from Devontae Smith.
No,
you usually don't see that type of route running, but that was a subpar way that he ran that route for whatever reason.
What about you? So I gave the offense overall C-.
So for me, I'm actually going to give Kellen Moore, I think deserves around a C+ or so, and Nick Sirianni is around a D. So it kind of so if I had to, I was even D- maybe. Gosh, I'd love to give him an F, but I don't know. They won the game. So I would probably give the offensive coaching a C- this week. I would, because I think as I mentioned earlier, I think the players won this game despite the offensive coaching.
No question about it.
Yeah.
No question about it. Yeah. It's unbelievable. They won the game, and Saquon ripped off that 68-yarder, and that's what will be remembered by 98% of fans 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. But it is remarkable that in that game, though, Saquon did not get a carry. That is just not forgivable. That just makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Would you if somebody show you this highlight in 3 years, remember this time Saquon ripped off the game-changing play?
Yes.
To start the fourth quarter?
Yes.
Did you know that in that game Saquon didn't get a carry until the second quarter?
Exactly. By the way, not to mention Saquon Barkley is such an amazing blocker and picking up the blitz. My gosh. It is
selfless player.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is a wide gap, Matt, between Saquon Barkley and Kenny Gainwell picking up the blitz. There is absolutely no reason to have Kenny Gainwell in the game when a defense is showing blitz. I don't care. It's timeout, and you're putting Saquon in. If Kenny Gainwell is in there, I'm telling you, he is so good at picking up the blitz. And whatever help is needed in terms of pass blocking. He's so good.
Great team guy. He's a captain. I really wonder if they have a limited number of the C's they can give.
Yeah,
but he's carrying himself like a captain. I mean,
absolutely.
Year one of being on this team, former Giant. He is completely committed to this team, and it just shows. So
absolutely
awesome.
Yep.
Special teams today. What do you give those guys?
I guess I'll give them a C. I mean, they weren't asked to do too much, but then again, when they were asked to do something, there was a blocked punt. You had Jake Elliott missing a 60-yarder, but I will say this, that third down right before Jake Elliott comes out on the field, It was a terrible play call. You got to give your field goal kicker at least 5 or 6 yards there in order for him to get have a chance at it, Matt. And
you make me kick the 60. Like, I'm sitting here watching it, and
yeah, 54-yarder. I think he nails it. I do. And by the way, I think he nails 2 other field goals in this game. The Eagles actually probably should have won this game with 6 more points on the board with the field goals that were not kicked, that probably should have been kicked in this game. That being said, I think special teams overall was a C. It's like they weren't asked to do too much, but when they were, it wasn't the greatest unit on the field today for sure.
So I think we're on the exact same page. I think they existed. There's a couple of plays like they just ride right down the middle of the road. They're driving exactly the speed limit.
Yes.
You might not have even noticed them on the road. Like there was like a moment there where they did something really bad, like the block punt, but then there was like a pretty good moment. So it all evens out, dude. You got the 75. Take your ass on to the next grade. Like it just
I love what you just said right there. They're doing the speed limit. In fact, they're probably maybe a little under the speed limit. They're doing 55, even though the speed limit's been raised to 65 for a little while now. They're still doing 55. They want to be cautious a little bit. That's why they're doing that. So I love that analogy. It's a great analogy.
Yes. They just try to blend in. Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. If they're driving just a couple of miles per hour lower, they might get pulled because there might be a suspicion of drunk driving.
Exactly. Like exactly. Exactly. Who are these cats in this car, in this vehicle here? We got to pull them over.
You almost pulled over, but guys, you passed the class.
Yes.
Way to go. In spite of the block punt, in spite of swerving almost into the wall there.
Yes. The blocked punt really was garbage. I mean, you got a guy coming off the edge completely unblocked. How does that happen? That's egregious. It really is.
Pee-wee.
Yes.
Some Pee-wee stuff.
Yes.
And they almost housed it. They could have housed it too. That was a missed opportunity from the Saints.
Yep.
So Sirianni. Let's grade Mr. Sirianni himself.
I think I said like probably D minus. I'm right around that area. We have been hearing reports, getting reports, reading them about what kind of head coach he is now that Kellen Moore has taken over play calling responsibilities and the responsibilities of really creating more of that foundation for the offense. So Nick Sirianni is going to various meetings throughout the NovaCare complex, just kind of being the cheerleader and making sure guys are ready to go. And I wonder really what he is going to be accomplishing more of with regard to his coaching with this team, because I'm concerned after 3 weeks here. Last year, somehow he survived. The offensive and defensive coordinator from last season, they were let go, and I think for good reasons too. But this is his opportunity to be a true leader of this Philadelphia Eagles team during 2024. We just haven't seen it yet. I want him to succeed. I do. Just like every single Philadelphia Eagle, whether you're a player, a coach, I don't care where you work in the NovaCare complex or at Lincoln Financial Field, I want to see you succeed. But Nick Sirianni has not shown us yet after 3 weeks that he is able to take this team proactively to the next level. Yes, they're 2-1. I am grateful as a fan that they are still at the top of the division here. However, I am very, very concerned where he is right now in terms of his coaching tenure, and that's why he's going to get about a D minus from me this week.
So I think there's like two sides, so I'm kind of averaging it out, and I nothing you said I disagree with at all. I think retweet all of it or read thread, not truth,
right?
Not lie.
Yeah, no, I'm not on the truth. No, I'm not on the truth.
Not me either. I'm not on that one. But so I'm kind of averaging two things out. I'm thinking on one side, I'm thinking like preparation, because he's basically saying, judge me by how I run this team, how I run the business. Judge me by my results. Yeah. So there's that. But there's also like the nuts and bolts, like the actual on the field game day management.
Yeah.
And so today, in terms of preparation, and getting this team's head screwed on right after a tough loss. You're headed down to the toughest, right now team in the NFL, a hottest team in the NFL. You're going into their house after a loss. There's some questions about, so I got to give him an A from that perspective, but that's not his grade for today. From the perspective of getting the team ready for the week, the CEO like in the NovaCare complex. But down there in New Orleans, there's also the part of being a coach on the day of down there in the Superdome. And so I'm giving him an F for that one as well. So I'm going to average it out. I'm going to skew more towards, I'm going to say, because I probably would, the pie is probably 60% about the CEO management and 40% about the game day management. And so I'll say C+, but just he's horrible today. I mean, just it was not defensible, some of these decisions that he's making, and just some of the game planning. And at the end of the day, if it's Kellen making some of these calls on third, fine. If it's Kellen who's making the decision that Saquon's not going to get a carry in the first quarter, fine. But at the end of the day, you got to go and grab somebody by the collar and be like, look, this is what the hell is happening here, because I'm getting fired. Kellen's not getting fired. If this is not going well, Kellen's not getting fired. Right. Vic's not getting fired. Christian Parker's not getting fired. Jalen's not getting fired. AJ's not getting fired. Devontae. Nick Sirianni's the one. And he is forcing himself into that conversation. It's unfortunate with the 2-1 and all the success that he's had, but it's the way we're doing this. And there's still that funk. The funk still exists. We are not defunct yet.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point. It's a sad point. It is. It's sad. You have an entire off season. You have the hope of the draft. You have the hope of free agency. You have the hope of new coordinators. Hope. It's a great word. It's a great word to have, and us Eagles fans have it all the time. And we have coming into this season, but he hasn't displayed that hope necessarily for us at this point, Matt. You made a great point.
So the Eagles did get the dub. So if the Saints won, who would you have given the game ball to?
If the Saints had won, I would have given the game ball. Boy, if you got to give it to one person, I would. Oh man, this is so rough. I might actually say Jalen Carter. For the simple reason of,
you would have given it to from the Saints. No, I'm saying from the Saints.
Who would? I thought you meant from the game ball from the Eagles if they had lost. Okay.
No. From the Saint. On the Saints. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a great question. I would probably say Chris Olave. He was targeted 6 times, caught all 6 balls for 86 yards and a touchdown.
Me too.
It would be Chris Olave. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. I would go with Olave.
I mean, look, he did everything he was asked from the Saints coaching staff. He was targeted 6 times, came down with all the balls, and came down with a touchdown too. That was a really nice toe tap right in the end zone there. He had to get both feet down. He just slid that left foot right over when he needed to. I mean, he's incredible. He really is. And unfortunately, he's playing on well, I say unfortunately, they're 2-1, and they've been taking care of business up until today. And I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, that coming into this particular game, there was 15 possessions that the Saints had, and Derek Carr and the Saints offense and or special teams scored on all 15. Today, the Philadelphia Eagles, they destroyed that. they stopped, and it was one of the longest streaks in NFL history, and it's pretty incredible. 15 total drives, and you're scoring either a touchdown or a field goal. The Philadelphia Eagles defense did a fantastic and stand-up job today by taking that streak and just cutting a hole right through it.
What's looking like the Dallas Cowboys are not a great defense. I mean, they did it to the
no kidding. I'm in one of my fantasy teams. Dear Lord.
And when I came into the week, folks, I told every opportunity I've had to be on shows or to put stuff out to the people, I said today would tell me more about the Eagles than it would about the Saints. Yeah. I'm not convinced. Even if the Saints beat the Eagles today, I'd be still talking about and not just from an Eagles fan perspective. the Saints are not. You can't convince me that the Saints are about to go to the Super Bowl. That they're of that caliber. So I've got to figure out why the hell they just beat the Panthers and the Cowboys like a drum.
Yeah,
it's looking like maybe the answer is that the Panthers and the Cowboys defense is some trash. Now, the Eagles defense did play well today, but it might be some of both. Because there's no reason Derek Carr should be cooking people like this. He's not that good.
Exactly. Well, I think you need to take a look too at the fact that Dallas, the Cowboys, like what translates from the offense over to the defense in this league in general. You have, especially in this game against the Baltimore Ravens right now, as we're recording this, the Ravens are winning 28-6. That they are beating Dallas
right after the half.
Exactly.
They got a lot of way to go, folks.
They do. But what I was getting ready to say, Matt, and I think it's important in terms of the Dallas Cowboys and where they're at right now, they only have 45 yards of rushing, 3.5 yards as of us right now talking, 3.5 yards per rush in this game. CeeDee Lamb has 67 yards. He's caught all 4 balls that were asked of him to catch. Jake Ferguson was targeted 5 times, and he's only come down with 2 balls. I feel like their offense is kind of so out of whack where their defense is then on the field, and their defense is also pretty much out of whack. I mean, Micah Parsons is a special player, but you have other aspects of this team that just haven't been stepping up after 2 weeks, and we're seeing it in this game, week 3, against the Ravens for sure. Again, they're losing 28-6. Lamar Jackson isn't having the greatest passing game of his life. He's only got 161 yards right now in the air as of us recording this. And meanwhile, he's got 61 yards on the ground. Not terrible, but man, I'll tell you, Derrick Henry is kicking the crap out of them right now. He's got 2 touchdowns and 110 yards. He's averaging 7.3 yards per carry against this Dallas defense, who obviously have a lot of holes. After the Saints kicked their butts last week, the Ravens are really taking it to him, and Derrick Henry's special too, as we know. So it's a huge problem. I think one aspect of the Dallas Cowboys team translates into the other in terms of they're just completely out of whack at this point.
Absolutely, and I mean it's just bad. It's just bad management. I mean, Zeke Elliott is their premier running back. That's their number one guy. Not their if things don't go well guy. Right. He's their bell cow back, and that's after they fired him.
Yes,
guys, they fired him, let him go wherever. They didn't trade. He could have went to Philly, and there were conversations about him coming to Philly, but Philly didn't want him. He goes wherever he wants. He goes to the Patriots for a year, and then he comes back. You guys sign him as a free agent, so other people again didn't want him.
Yes, yeah, I know. The decisions these front offices make.
So how are you feeling heading into Tampa Bay? Probably much better than if the Eagles had a loss, but it feels like right now Tampa Bay has the Eagles number a little bit.
They do.
If I had to say.
Oh, they certainly have. I mean, we've known that. If you know the history of this, of these two teams, Tampa Bay has certainly had their number, especially in the playoffs last year. It was terrible, but Baker Mayfield today, I mean, he dropped some turds out there. He really did. I mean, yes, he was 25 of 33, but he was only averaging 4.9 yards. 4.9 yards per attempt. That he can't do that against the Philadelphia Eagles defense that was on the field today if they're going to win next week. He can't do that at all. But he spread the ball around. Chris Godwin, he came down with 6 balls. Cade Otton, he came down with 7 balls. Rashad White, he came down with 5. Mike Evans was only targeted 3 times, had 2 receptions for 17 yards. That's a little bit perplexing, but he was spreading the ball around. They really couldn't get much going, though, in terms of the passing game. Only 163 yards passing Baker Mayfield had. So they were going up against a Broncos team that I'm not a big fan of, but boy, Bo Nix and Tyler Batty, they took it to him. I mean, Bo Nix had 47 yards on the ground himself. So I'm not buying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially after this game. Getting beat by the Denver Broncos. I'm not buying them at all. I definitely think it's a winnable game for the Eagles, and I think they're going to be hungry. After losing the first home game of the season in the manner in which they lost it in week 2. I think week 4 is going to be better against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team.
Yeah, and I think that Baker's story was going well and was getting enjoyable, and then he had that record scratch dumb Baker moment that talk this week about, in any way comparing himself to Tom Brady. And I'm not a Brady guy. Like, I'm more so like, and we can talk about that another time. But guys, suffice to say, I'm not a Brady, stan. But for him to be saying, I think the guys have more fun with me as quarterback than with Brady. You're not even eligible to have a comparison to Mr. Brady, sir.
Exactly. I don't know. I think hoisting all those Lombardi trophies would be pretty fun. I think they would, Baker. So
have you had a champagne shower?
Exactly.
Baker? One champagne.
Yeah, maybe one. Yeah, maybe he might be getting champagne showers at a gentleman's establishment, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yes. Gotta watch what I say. Jeez.
Well, we said it. We both said it at the same.
Yes.
So. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he won a national championship in college.
No.
Did he?
I don't think so. No.
So yeah, getting a little big for his britches, and I think the Eagles. I'm heading into this one. I think that the Eagles. I'm not going to do a point prediction, but I do think that the Eagles have a couple of different paths to victory.
Oh, absolutely. So. Yeah, I do. Look, I think it's going to be important to give the fans at the Link their first win of the season after completely laying an egg against an Atlanta Falcons team that they should have beat. They really should have, and they could have. And again, you can blame Nick Sirianni for that. You can blame Saquon Barkley for dropping that pass in the fourth quarter again in that Falcons game. However, I think we're going to see a team come out that's on fire. I think we're going to see a defense on fire too, because they have it. They have
Tampa.
What it takes.
It's not in Philly though.
I thought it was in Philly for some reason.
No, yeah.
My gosh.
Our first game back in Philly will be after the bye week against the Browns.
My apologies, Matt. Oh, my apologies to your listeners too. I thought so, but I'll tell you this: if the Denver Broncos can win down there, 26-7, Philadelphia Eagles can win down there too. And I know they've been a tough team for the Eagles to beat, like we were talking about, especially last year during the postseason, the playoffs. But I'm going to have a lot of hope going into this game. I really am.
I like their chances, and I like going into the bye week 3-1 against, 4 playoff caliber teams.
Yeah.
I think they're all going to be around. They'll be in that Kornacki box.
Absolutely. Buddy, it's been a bizarre season because of all these injuries throughout the league. I have this feeling that just about anything can happen this year in the NFL. Absolutely. I really think anything can happen. It has been an interesting year. You see quarterbacks who are struggling. You see receivers who are struggling. The rushing attack is so important this year. I feel like we're having this seismic shift in a way in terms of the NFL.
Absolutely.
Defenses have really been stepping it up in various ways too. I know last year on our podcast platform, we were really calling it the year of the defense because passing was down, passing touchdowns were down last year. So we're seeing some bizarre stuff, and it's so fun. It's interesting. It really is.
Things are so cyclical. I mean, if you start lightening up the linebackers, then people will start doing more inside zone runs and hammering you with their guards. I mean, everything has a reaction.
Absolutely. Fun season.
Absolutely, Jeff. Well, it's always great having you on. Thanks for making time to be
appreciate
on.
You. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the listeners, thank you so much for making time to listen to this podcast. There's so many podcasts out here. We're thankful that you think this one will give you some good information. Please go subscribe and like the page on Facebook. We're getting some good action over there. The stuff is getting more action than we have likes, so I guess that's a good thing.
That's good.
But we do need to run the likes up, people. So thank you in advance for doing that, and take care.
It is 2nd down and 5. Do they keep it on the ground with Saquon Barkley? They do. He breaks free. He's at the 50, the 40, the 30. He's going to go. Touchdown, Saquon Barkley.
Well, that's breaking it wide open. Unbelievable blocking. He comes off that left side, and there's a crease, and when he hits the crease, he just starts to put on the jets, and he outruns everybody. Marshawn Lattimore is in his wake.
65-yard touchdown run, and the Eagles not only score, but they take the lead.